heaven. But why are all the mushrooms up there?
There, they're all along it.
Whoa. Ooh, this one's not hard. Kiss the
log. Show your appreciation.
I love you, log. All logs deserve love. Look up at the sky. What's your favorite thing about right now?
I haven't looked at the clouds, just laid down and looked at the sky in a while. It's like really the most grounding thing.
The weather was so weird this whole week in my hometown. Okay, let's go to the next spot.
Next spot.
It felt more like spring than the beginning of January, with snow and ice melting away and new life popping up from underneath it. I find it strange that we celebrate the new year in the dead of winter anyway, and this weather felt much more appropriate. The wind. Run! Actually, no, you're gonna slip. I don't know how much I believe in omens, and actually, if anything, this weather is probably a terrible omen for the environment. But in that moment, laying on the ice with the sun in our eyes, it really seemed like the world was telling me to look forward to the warmth and renewal of the coming year. Hey, how's it going? I wanted to check in and say hi to you for 2023, which is so crazy. I talked about in my last entry about how I didn't want to make any sort of super concrete resolutions, which I still feel that way. I can be such an obsessive goal setter and like planner, and it kind of ends up being this cycle where I'm just berating myself for whatever I didn't achieve in the year, and I don't want to start this year with a sense of like lack. So I'm trying to think more this year about just momentum and about being grateful for everything that's happened in the last year. I thought I would kind of make it into journaling prompts that I can go through to reflect about 2022 and share them with you so that you can follow along and do some journaling and reflecting at the same time. If you have a journal, I have mine, which is like journal inception because technically you're inside of this journal right now, or at least in my brain, that's how I think about it. It's such a weird process doing the virtual visual journaling. If this is your first video of mine that you're watching, I guess I'll like kind of explain it to you a little bit. I have my physical journal. I love journaling. I think it's my favorite tool for personal growth and also for immortalizing moments. I always loved making YouTube videos, but I wanted the experience of making and sharing YouTube videos to feel more like adding to my journal and reflecting on myself in those ways. Each entry in here corresponds with a video, and it's really fun. Like now I'm kind of getting through this journal, which is exciting. I wonder how many entries it'll be before I've just like filled this up. So in this journal, of which this is the 7th entry, I only have actually like a couple months worth of memories, but it's a product of an intention that I set earlier in 2022 to post more consistently and to invest more into a YouTube channel, which has been probably one of the most rewarding intentions that I've set, not just in 2022, but like ever. I've always wanted to do YouTube, and I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel, and I've set intentions to do that so many times but never really followed through, and I think it's because I was always trying to motivate myself through fear or through like what I saw myself as lacking. And this year I just started to do it with less pressure and not anything external, and it's the only time in my life where, even though I haven't been like perfectly consistent or anything, like this channel has grown and my creativity has grown. Okay, I'm getting carried away because this isn't even a prompt yet. I'm just like such a talker, but let's hone in and start going through some of these little prompts that I came up with for us to think about. I think when you think more about time and intention and habits, that's really like what your life, in my mind, that's what your life is shaped around, more so than rewards or outcome. So thinking about this year in terms of where I devoted my time, editing has been a huge process, and I estimate it probably takes me like 20 hours a week to edit a video. At this point, I'm definitely devoting a lot more time towards freelance music through like the freelance songwriting platform that I do. For like the first time in my life, I'm close to paying all of my bills through freelance music, and if not directly through music, through creative projects. And that feels really good. Like that's something that I guess I was always skeptical that people could actually do, but I put a lot of time into it, and I think I've also put a lot of unpaid time into music, and it's really gratifying now that the time I'm putting into music is actually financially supporting me, so that's feels like a good thing. I feel like I've also put a massive amount of time into rehearsals and shows, but then also, if I'm being like really realistic and honest about it, I think I've spent a lot of time scrolling on my phone. My screen time is pretty bad, and it's hard to discern what of that time is productive and useful and what of that time is just me kind of turning my brain off without even getting real rest. So that's been a huge time suck, I think, in a negative way. The next thing is what you've learned from that time. One just like concrete thing that I've learned is better editing skills and how to make that quicker. Another thing that I've learned just about myself is how much more fulfilling and how I feel like I have more reserves of energy working on either music or long form content. I've learned from the time that I've invested in playing shows and rehearsing that I really can't do alcohol, which is an interesting one. I feel like that's a lesson that I have been kind of gearing up to learn for some time, but I have anxiety, and if I drink even like, you know, not an unusual amount, it's hard to like say what's an appropriate amount of drinking and what's not, because like every culture and every person is so different. I feel like I've sort of tested the different lifestyles involving alcohol this year, and a lot of that is from, like I said, from playing shows. It helps me with nerves a lot. Like I find having a couple of drinks before I get on stage really helps damper the intense adrenaline or self-consciousness. But I'm just gonna have to learn some tools, or maybe just even, you know, playing more and more, I'll need it less. Even just that much, my anxiety is like magnified times 200% for the next like almost like up to a week. I'm in my 20s and I live in New York City, where it's just, I think from a lot of people in their 20s living in cities or anywhere, it's so like embedded into social spheres. I don't want to just like be less social, but I'm gonna have to find more people that feel similarly. I don't know, I feel like young people now, and maybe this is just the bubbles that I'm in or that I see on the internet, like I feel like there's a larger population of young people that aren't as enthused about drinking culture. So yeah, that's something I've definitely learned this year through trial and error. So the next prompt that I have is highlights from the year. This one is fun. I have a lot of highlights this year. Like this year has been very full of ups and downs and like of big changes for me. I think coming back from the pandemic, anyone in any kind of like performing field, or I mean just literally everyone was so affected by it. After I graduated college in 2019 with a Bachelor of Music. And so recalibrating my career goals has been a really weird struggle. I didn't get COVID, and no one that I know got really sick, and I was able to do work from home and do like different internships and continue to grow creative skills and all that. So I do feel really lucky and grateful. But I also lost out on like, I guess like kind of when you think of like performance careers post college does feel like kind of important years for that. Not only did like the opportunities just not exist, but I also lost a lot of my like motivation and interest in it. I did classical voice in college. I had thought a lot about getting my master's in classical voice, and I don't know if that slipped away because of the pandemic and because of not having access to performing or like those communities anymore, or if I kind of just naturally fell out of interest. I don't know. Experiencing my first real adult years in the pandemic, and then this year kind of adjusting back to life, but now not as a college student, not as a young professional really either, because I didn't switch careers at all. I kind of just, I guess I stagnated in some ways, but that's like not a lovely way of thinking about it. I didn't really stagnate, I kind of like floundered, trying to figure out the next thing that was gonna drive me since performance was gone. And now it's back. It's weird. I don't know. This whole phase of life has just been very strange. If I've learned anything from the last 4 years, it's that you just have no idea what's gonna happen. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing, and like I'm not saying I'm like a doomsdayer, but I just don't want to set myself up with ideas about what can be accomplished and what can't when you just don't know. Better to just set your sails than, you know, the saying, whatever, setting your sails can't change the wind. That's all I'm saying. Okay, those weren't even my highlights. I'm really bad at keeping my brain in one path. But I also think part of journaling is like letting yourself do this sort of like free stream of consciousness. So like a prompt is just a prompt. So if any of these questions just send you off on another tangent like that, follow it. Like you gotta let your brain run out all the muddy water until you can get the clear water. So highlights from the year. I played in my first festival. I went to Treefort this year with Atlas Engine, which I joined Atlas Engine I think in 2021, so I can't really count that as a highlight, but I played my first festival, which was such a cool thing to do. I also went with them on a mini tour, which is my first tour, and it's definitely something that I want to do again. So much just like being back in performance and back in music is like, that's the big highlight of 2022, is having all of that back again, because that really is like what pumps my heart. What else from this year? This year I've lived now for over a year with my boyfriend and with Lila, my best friend, in our little tiny Brooklyn apartment, and I feel like that can be a scary thing, like living with a significant other and also with a best friend. Like people always say, don't live with your friends because you'll end up not being friends, but I think we all got lucky, and also they're just very amenable people. So like they get along really well with each other, I think, and then they're like my favorite people ever, so obviously I love it. I feel like the apartment that we're in now is just a place that like my whole life I'm gonna look back on and think about as just a really special time in my life. So I'm really grateful for that. I went a lot of places this year. Me and Nate went to Georgia and we house sat, which was so lovely, and that was like right after Treefort. I had never been to Georgia. We went to the aquarium, which I think was one of my like favorite things I've done this whole year. I went to Montreal earlier in 2022 as well with Oliver and Nate and Lila, and it was like a pretty short trip, but it feels like so long, which is the best thing ever. Like I hate when vacations feel like they just were like so short, but we did so much while we were there, and I'm so happy that I have the video from it. Like, we just had such a fun time, and I hadn't taken like just a friend's vacation in so long, or like maybe ever before that. I had been to Montreal when I was a kid, but going as an adult was really cool, and all the places had kind of been burned into my brain as a kid a little bit. Like, you know, when you go somewhere as a kid and then like your dreams end up being subtly related to the place that you went. And so it was so cool because like all the places, like especially the Biodome and like some of Old Town and stuff, I had been there and I recognized it, but I didn't realize until I was there that those memories were real. They weren't just like a part of my kid brain. So yeah, Montreal was also a huge highlight of this year. Getting to interact with so many of you on the internet as well has been a huge highlight from starting this channel. But yeah, actually that kind of carries me into the next prompt, which maybe will be the last prompt because I feel like I've been rambling for a hot minute now, but which is what you're grateful for this year. I had some loss in my family like kind of towards the end of this year, and it made me really grateful for the health of my family that is still here, and for the ability to like come be home and spend time with family. I'm grateful for, like I said, the interactions, and from just like how much I've learned about myself every time that I've come to my desk to edit. I'm grateful for like all of that growth this year and how much more there is to come. I haven't felt lonely in a really, really long time, which, I mean, I think a lot of that is because, like I said, I live with my best friend and my boyfriend, so obviously I don't feel lonely that often. But even when I'm by myself, I think I've just become so much more comfortable with myself, and that might also be my age and doing YouTube and like being forced to listen to myself talk and editing videos of myself, and I don't know, I think it's like a combination of so many things, but I do feel really grateful for the relationship I built with myself this year and for the external relationships that I have. Okay, so then the very last prompt is what you will carry into next year and what you would like to leave behind. So what I want to carry into next year is having this growth mindset. I want to take my relationships with me and continue to like value them and to express gratitude towards them and like not take them for granted, especially with my boyfriend, with my best friend Lila, with my family, keeping those sacred. I want to continue to make videos, but not out of fear of failing myself and not out of wanting to like blow up or go viral, but because of that like internal feeling of having these thoughts and my growth and my like path through life be documented on this channel. And I think those are the things that I want to carry with me through. And then the things that I want to leave behind, like I mentioned, alcohol, self-beratement, over-planning, and those are my three. Those are the three things that I can leave behind, making them a thing of 2022. Okay, I mean, I hope if you went through that, you're feeling really good and excited about the year. I really have to wrap this up because my SD card is running out, which means I've really been talking for a long, long time. So I'm gonna trim this down a bunch for you. Hope you got something out of this. It was really fun chatting with you as always. I hope if you're new here, maybe you'll subscribe and we can keep chatting with each other. I feel like I say this every week and it doesn't always happen, but I'm gonna try to keep uploading on Sundays, and I'll set it to Premiere, so if we wanna chit chat there, I would love to meet you and like say hi to you and talk about your year and what you're excited for. So yeah, hope to see you there. Much love to you and your family and to your friends and your loved ones for the new year. and I will see you hopefully very soon. Bye bye! Happy New Year!